no, Russell, I don't think white men have it the toughest. Welcome to the downside. I am...
He thinks straight white men have it the toughest. The fact that you didn't specify.
If you had known like what point in the day I had thought to do that, like at 10 a.m. I was like
holding that,
and I had different versions, and then I was just trying to do it.
You had worse version. You had like more.
I'm trying to think if I had more offensive. Yeah. But that was still pretty bad.
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
Welcome to the downside. And our first return guest,
Yay!
in a way, you were gonna be my first guest,
Guinea pig.
and then this was back when Russell, the first of 3 times, got COVID.
No, kidding me? No.
This was the first time he got COVID. Is Jay?
Second time.
It was the second time,
Right. This is we were doing the podcast once there was.
No, we started this podcast.
No, it was
Once
very
there was
early.
a vaccine though.
I feel like it was right after the vaccine, though.
Oh wait. No, I was exposed to COVID.
Oh, you were exposed.
I didn't have it that time though.
I see.
It was when we were still like canceling that.
Yeah.
Like we're all exposed every day. We weren't canceling.
It is like the thing shows up, the app on your phone goes, you were
Yes,
exposed, and you go,
yes.
what? I'm on the train already.
Yeah. Nicole got a thing. That's what.
Yeah.
That was. She got a call the morning of being like,
And it was our very first episode, but Jay stepped in.
Oh, yes.
It went well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Russell.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, this is my friend, stand-up comedian, and currently a writer for The Problem with
Yes.
Jon Stewart.
Yes.
This is Jay Jurden, but say something not positive so we can go into our theme music.
Oh, okay. You made me come to you today during rush hour on a day where people were shot.
during a terrorist attack.
During a semi-terrorist attack. So that's the downside of doing this podcast is I could have not made it here.
This is the downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.
Yeah,
I was going to say we're recording this in advance, but there will probably be another shooting.
I will say
not in New York.
I saw the thing this morning and then I was like, about to leave, and I was like, well, surely they caught that person.
No.
And they have not. And I was like on the subway, like, oh, I feel
Right?
a little less comfortable that it was.
I feel like you see online, people have this automatic reaction of like, they're like, this is why we need more police. That's the first thing people go to.
That is something
and
that they
emotionally,
say.
I understand. Emotionally, I understand. You're like, why? But there's a degree of like, there is no quick solution to this. This is, people pulling guns. Any knee-jerk reaction to like, let's get more police standing around getting people for jumping turnstiles is the wrong response.
Yes, and you're saying that so that people like you on Twitter, Gianmarco. And I know that they usually don't. So you're saying this is the clip he wants.
Well, let me just say. So I recently, because I've been saying to Tova. Tova's had like 2 people like get in her face recently on the street, and I've had twice recently. I was on 8th Avenue, going to LOL, and twice now
At night?
at night,
Okay.
like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm giving off a different vibe or if the city feels a little more chaotic, where twice a guy just like at me, and
we were walking once. You remember that pack of roving teens kept asking if we had weed, and it's probably the first time
weird.
you've seen me turn. And I was like,
I saw Jay.
I was like, I don't have any fucking weed, number one. And then his like friend showed up, and I turned to his friends like, turn the fuck around right now.
It was wild.
So
it was
they were
wild
just
to
following you
witness.
for extended period of time.
Well,
They kept asking. It was strange. They kept being like, "Do you have any weed?" And we were like, "No." And they kept like pursuing it. Where I don't know if they were like negging us or.
I think it was like they were asking because we were close to a place that is like one of those kind of real but kind of not dispensaries.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe they were asking people if they had weed on them. It was also might have been like the new version of the penis game for teenagers. I don't know what they were attempting to do, but they like kept doing it. I saw him sort of messing with like a woman, and they messed with me and Gianmarco, and I was like, well, I'm gonna be chill for the first one, and then the second one, and by the third one I was like, I'm gonna yell at a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of kids. I don't care if it's like 4 of them. I definitely can. You can hit 2 of them, and then the other 2 will be very worried. I'm not.
Are you ready to fight?
Yeah, it's a bad sign.
No, I need it because the second guy that charged me, first guy I freaked. The second guy, he was walking away. He was holding something too, and I did my classic. Go fuck God fucking damn it! Go fuck yourself, you fucking. And
Yeah.
but then immediately I'm like, uh-oh. Now he's going to come fight me.
No. Gianmarco, you need that.
Did he seem-
Not in airports in Wisconsin like you usually do.
Yeah.
You need it in New York.
The person that jumped out at you, it seemed like why were they doing it? Would it seem like a mental health thing or like a
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just like
home was that
no. It was
okay.
like both like white guys looking kind of like punkish. They look punkish, like
what's that term?
sweatpants, like kind of. I don't know. They're both like the same kind of guy, which is what was strange. Just like,
Wait
what
a
does
second.
this
you
guy
talking about
see
my friend
me?
Ronnie? I love it. No,
What's
that's
that term? You know, is it? Oh, there's a term for it, like something punk. Isn't it like
Like steampunk?
No, no. Like
like
a
a
gutter punk.
scum
Am
punk?
I making up? Something
It's-
like. There's a term.
But is that just, did old people just tell us that and
know.
we're
Am I
using
just
it now?
like saying it like a really?
Have we
like,
graduated to the age where we can go, those young punks, and we
Yeah.
like actually just mean youths?
Yeah, no, but I know what you mean now.
So I do want to talk about all sorts of things with you.
Yes.
I do want to catch up on. I was just in Memphis visiting Tova's family.
Can I tell you something about the comedy club you were at? I know about one
Chuckles
of them.
Comedy House.
So I know about Chuckles because they have a sister club in Jackson, Mississippi, which is where I'm from. I think it's like it was converted from like a Lone Star Steakhouse. I'm not making this up. So Chuckles is a black room. So I'm wondering
100%.
how in the hell you got that gig.
So this is so funny. Well, first of all, like I've definitely been to black comedy shows like in the Apollo, or there's Brooklyn Comedy Club here. But something about this, I'm trying to see if I can pinpoint it. I was like, oh, this is a black comedy club. Like,
Yes.
like everything about it. It felt like old school, like from the 80s. Just one gigantic fucking room. Gigantic fucking
Big
room.
ceiling.
For, big ceiling. Just like you imagine it's people who can sell a lot of tickets and they pack the shit out. And just like, yeah, everyone in the staff black, and just things you notice. And so I walk in there with my hyper Jewish girlfriend and her hyper Jewish brother, and it was a 5 p.m. show, super light, which is fine. I was very happy to just do the hour. For a second, it seemed like there was going to be no host or feature, and then there was a host. Like I sat down, I was like, "So what's the time breakdown?" And they said, "Oh, it's just you, whatever you want." And I was like, "Okay." And it was funny because like. Listen, I'd love to. And I told my agent, I said, listen, I can do these rooms. I want to do these rooms.
You can.
I think about it all the time in terms of like fan base. I'm like, I do not want an all white fan base.
No, you don't.
That's a quiet room. And the owner after the show, and this is an older black man, he gives me the check and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I've been wanting to add more diversity to this club, and then you kind of fell into my lap, and you're exactly the kind of act that I want for this. And I was like, wow. Wow! It flipped. It flipped.
People don't understand. That's the only time you can actually cry out about reverse discrimination. Or like the tables actually have to turn in the sense that like that is a majority black city. It is a majority black room. It is a majority black comedy club. The staff is black. You know who goes through there? Like black headliners on the weekend. I mean like some more. I mean like Earthquake. Like it's like that level of black comics, and they sell out. And what's so funny is that when I saw you do the room, I was like, Gianmarco? I was like, didn't they do this on a season of Maisel where they had like, didn't something like this happen in the Chitlin circuit?
And it's so, and he offered, he said, hopefully I can do the one in Mississippi too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great, let's do it. It would be more nervous. I mean, the truth is, I'd be more nervous for the show.
Can I tell you, every Jewish person I know in Mississippi, I would tell them to go see it.
Sure.
All 6 of them. I would be like, listen, I would tell Abram, I hope they listen to this, I would tell Abram and his wife Hannah, and maybe Abram's parents, like, they would actually be, you should do it. You should
They
do
also, I mean, you really, every white person I would tell, that's where I performed, they would always give that, that awkward thing white people do with like, oh, you were there?
And in Memphis,
You
I know
went
they
to
probably
there.
went. They probably went.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot of crime there, and you're like, okay, all right, please,
in the
please
comedy
please stop talking, so I don't have to say anything. Please, 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 please. But then what was so funny is as I was leaving, I think I made $200, and I want to be back, so I try to leave a nice big tip for like the staff. and I approached like the waiters, all black women, and I like I tried to give a 20 to one, like, oh, can I give this to you guys?
Yeah.
And the look she gave me was like I had asked for a blowjob in exchange for it. And the look she gave me, I honestly was like, should I? Like I'd handed her trash. And I don't know if it's just like that's not it was just strange the way I did it, or like that's not the custom of the comic, like leaving a tip for I don't know what it was, but the reaction, I felt so guilty.
Well, yeah, is it weird because you're like making her split it up amongst the rest of them? Like
maybe
like, make change?
Maybe.
But
are they used to people like dropping like 200 on like the staff?
I mean, there's no way they would have expected it from this show. That would be insane. That would be insane. I mean, maybe it was too low, or maybe it was like, I don't need your help. I don't know, but it was one of those things where, again, listen, I think it's so important, speaking as a white person, to be in spaces where you are not the majority, because you learn just about the world.
You straight up understand that you can only have 2, maybe 3 New Girl references in your set. I'll see some white comics talk about white stuff, and I'll be like, that's so beautiful. I'm so happy you get to do this. Only do it here. Don't ever take it anywhere else. I don't care how much you love Neutral Milk Hotel or like it'll get into like very like the Shins level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll be like, man, you really, whoo.
Yeah.
Black people have to do a lot of like, they have to journey very far to enjoy you mentally.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of this, so then I did a show Sunday for like Tova's family and all these people from the shul, the temple. And Tova's sister was there, and Tova's sister was supposed to come Thursday. The flight got canceled, and because she's religious, she can't fly Friday or Saturday, so couldn't come until Sunday. But we do the show. I see her sister for the first time, and I'm like, and I say her name, and I go to give her like a hug, and I feel like Tova go, Gianmarco, no, and like pull me off, and like it was because she's not allowed to touch men.
Gianmarco.
And I gave her a big hug.
Assaulted her.
I felt so dirty. I felt like,
can I say something? This is why the Italians and Jewish people should not mix, because you were more Italian in that moment than you were Jewish.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I felt so guilty.
How
because,
much
like,
did you hug?
I
You
grabbed her
touched
for a
her
hug
fully.
for a second. Like this all happened very
Did she
quick.
scream? Did she?
No, she didn't scream.
but she just kinda like-
I could see like there was like a degree of like, and this is all happening very fast. But as I was going in for the hug,
Oh, the way
like
you
it wasn't
hugged.
like this hug. Like I was like, oh, maybe we don't have a hugging relationship. But then I thought, because I'm the older boyfriend of the girlfriend.
You didn't
Oh,
give her
come
time.
here.
You didn't
Here's
give
a
her time to
hug.
think about that. You just like went in there.
Tova screaming, Gianmarco, no!
to be pulled off of a hug, to be.
To be pulled off of your girlfriend's sister, and for you to word it that way, also.
Oh God!
It was. I felt such.
What was the conversation like after that? Was there any like acknowledgement?
I did
God.
my where like I apologized so intensely, people end up feeling worse for me.
This
Yeah.
is why
That's
you
my
have to
strategy.
lose your hair and have a 10-season series on HBO, because you do things like this.
Gianmarco,
You do
no.
things like this, and the world around you gives you a set of rules. You go, I know these rules. I have these rules. I got these rules. You know what? She can't fly. I'm here for it. But I'm so happy she's at this show. Let me just give her a big old
It was just so funny because I think there was a split moment. I didn't realize right away why I was being pulled off this woman.
Yeah.
So did you fight Tova?
They were like, Tova, get off. I'm just trying to get.
fucking
You
her.
said you wanted me to get to know your family. I'm fucking doing it.
Oh my God.
And then,
See, I didn't know that rule. I didn't know any of it. I didn't know the flying thing. I didn't know those.
I know a little bit about the flying. I know a little bit about the wigs. I know a little
Yeah, I
bit
know a little
about
about the wigs. I
But
know a little about the
it
wigs.
is the I believe it's called the Sabbath.
You can't do anything, right? You just
Yeah,
you
there's
can't
strict
touch
rules.
elevator buttons.
Well,
right?
you're not allowed to touch, like, there is something like you can use an elevator if the elevator's doing this thing where it automatically, like, stops at each floor. Well, that's how I feel. Russell's eye roll.
No!
Russell's completely.
Not me. Jay loves all of it because he works in this industry. He understands that everyone has a different relationship with God.
It's so frustrating because, and it's hard. There's like, as I get older, I see the community and I go, oh, as you get older and you face the horror that is getting older, you have a community and loved ones and people who support you. And I'm like, you know what? This shouldn't be undervalued. This cannot be overstated how important it is.
Right.
And systems, including rules that might not fully make sense, help reinforce a community and make it known. You go to temple every day. Some people are religious, but part of it's just like every week you have to go to the thing and see the people. But then,
not the people, your people,
my people, the chosen people, and then you miss a flight and you're like, well, I can't go till Sunday, and you're like, just do it.
But do you
just do it though? Just do it though.
Yeah, but that's easy for you. You're not in the thing. You're not doing all those little things.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
But there's all these like we went to, because whenever we see Tova's sister, we have to go to a kosher restaurant, and like if you go deeper into the kosher restaurant, like, oh, the rabbi who's in charge of it got into a fight with this guy, so wouldn't make it kosher, and you realize it's all politics, and they know it's politics, and I'm like, well, if you know it's politics, then can you disregard it? And it's like, well, no, we
Can I
can't.
ask a question though? So when you had barbecue, just brisket, correct?
We went out to barbecue.
I saw that.
Yeah. Well, Tova doesn't eat pork. Her mom's a vegetarian. Her brother has broken it.
Okay.
So yeah, some of them, but
What'd you have?
oh, I had everything. I have the pork. I had the pork all the time. Normally, Tova and I
this
split.
Is so you're covered in pulled pork, hugging Tova's sister.
Hugging Tova's sister. And I got a cross on and I'm pressing it into her forehead.
You really are just this like Lothario that's coming in and breaking all of the Jewish rules.
Yeah.
Listen,
It is very funny though that's what makes you a bad boy, is you doing stuff like that as you drink a LaCroix sparkling water. Gianmarco's like, yeah, I pulled up on my electric scooter on Shabbat.
I mean, it's so her father is observant and her sister is observant and the rest of the family is not, but they still respect it, and it's.
But there are gradations even within that. You can be very observant.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can be very observant, or you can just go to the temple and you still eat the thing.
I learned last year that a Yankees cap or a Mets cap can function as a kippah.
Really?
Yes.
There's a great stand-up comedian.
Just
Do you know
those
who?
two teams are
Just those two teams. I think maybe also a Florida team, but that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe this is Gary Goldman, but there's a comedian who goes. He said he saw someone with a yarmulke, a kippah that was a watermelon slice, and he said, "I think a God who's okay with you wearing like a watermelon kippah would be okay with you not wearing it sometimes." And it felt so true, where. Like even the kippah I borrowed from a brother was like for a basketball tournament he did like in high school. Like it just.
I like this part of you though. I like you having to investigate this relationship, not only culturally but personally. I like it for you.
Well, I feel envious where like I don't have that community, but from the outside I can't be like, okay, well, this thing's on the head. You go to the service. The head of the person's facing the opposite direction for 90% of the service. Just, and you're like, this is the most boring theatrical event I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was so funny because Tova, she wants us to go meet her family.
You did a black room. Why didn't you go to black church while you were in Memphis?
We should have. I'm gonna bring Tova to a black church. But like Tova's like, I want us to be closer, meet my family, and then immediately brings me to a room where they put a wall between the two of us.
All right.
And we see each other through the wall, and we're like, fingers and touching and stuff. And I'm like, there's a degree of like, we're gonna do it, but we're not gonna take it that seriously.
Okay.
But we're gonna do it for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So, I had a good time.
Good.
Tova's family was great. But now we should talk about the problem with Jay Jurden.
All right, the problem with Jay Jurden.
You're writing
so many.
So Jay Jurden,
many of them.
I mean, pretty incredibly, there was the Jon Stewart writing packet day where every comedian. It was one of those. So like I got the submission from my agent, and I was like, oh, cool. My agent's kind of my agent's really getting me some good writing packets. Good for them.
They gave
good
you
for
the
them.
one
We're
that just was
churning.
out there for
That was
everyone.
on Twitter.
That was on Twitter.
And then like one person like sent it to me like, hey, just so you know they're accepting packets. I was like, oh cool, that's a good friend. That's a good friend. And then like two more sent it to me. I'm
yeah.
like, okay, everyone has this. Every single person in the universe
every
has
single
access
person.
to this packet.
Yeah.
And
Keep in mind, though, at the time, this is who was looking for writers. Charlemagne's show was looking for writers on Comedy Central. I think Colbert had just sent something out, and it might have been on the tail end or right before Fallon sent another thing out. So there were like a bunch of feelers out in the air.
Yeah.
In addition to this packet.
so I guess because I don't want to. Do you feel pretty free at this job to talk like? It's very interesting because Jon Stewart is obviously, he was this huge icon.
Yes.
And every time he has like an episode recently, or every time he has an opinion that people find a little bit, he's
surprising.
now the god to cut down, you
Yeah.
know. And like
Yeah.
every time he says
Yeah.
something, and I feel like he really fights to not just say the kind of opinion we all agree on.
Yeah, because there are enough people that do that.
Plenty.
There are so many people that already do that. He only wants to say the part of the argument that he thinks we're investigating and attempting to better. Not necessarily solve, but at least make some progress. And he did it super successfully with the veterans episode in regards to burn pits, so much so that it went from being an episode and an idea and a panel to being a bill that was like passed in the House and now it's in the Senate. That's the best example of him saying, okay, this is something that I really want to think about. Because
Yeah.
the people who don't like that are the people who go, well, everyone who was over there is a war criminal. And you go, okay, well, damn it. Well, these war criminals have like chest cancer. So like, I don't know what you want me to say.
There is a certain disingenuousness that I think about more and more of just like, we live in the country that your taxes went to the war criminal too. Like, so if you're going to, if you're really going to live in this world where you say everyone involved was a war criminal, then you are also a war criminal because you were
And
a part
guess
of the
what?
system.
I was
Funded it.
11 and I wore a bunch of Old Navy stuff with flags on it because I was scared. Everyone fucking did
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was a kid who was crying in Mississippi in 6th grade because I was like, well, why would they do this today? Like, you know what I mean? Like we were all affected by this 20-year thing that we're still like recovering and kind of like investigating. So like that to me is the weird part of the internet and the mob online, but he's aware of it. He just has so much like experience dealing with it that he kind of goes, okay, this is worth my time. This isn't.
But do you ever see, because obviously he has takes, it's just, the show is like, he's the face of the show.
Yeah.
And you're a part of the show. And he might have opinions you disagree with. Is it stressful at all? Do you ever see him getting dragged and go like, feel defensive or feel like, oh, I want to separate myself from this?
I'm lucky enough that like my identity online is so idiosyncratic and so me that like, unless John's talking about bisexual X-Men, like I don't know if people are gonna instantly be like, "That's now we gotta get to Jay. Something's going on." when
He came forward, he said all X-Men are straight.
yeah, I'd be like, "Well, John, this is something I want taken down, or I walk." That's the because I don't think anyone thinks about me. It takes so long to get to me. Like this is how long it takes to get to me. We had an episode about race, and like they came out. I want to say almost a month ago, and yet 2 days ago, people were like, "We found one of the writers.
I saw
this
that.
is the person who's the podcast co-host with John." I'm like, I got a promotion. I don't
You got the same accusation I got once of a woke comedian. We're in the woke branch of comedy.
which is like so interesting because now if you aren't reactionary and right and like not center right, like right and like fun conspiracy theory, like Fauci's the devil, right? People are like, oh, look at you being woke, and you're like, I don't think I'm woke. I make fun of woke people a lot.
Yeah.
Which has been your favorite episode of The Problem with Jon Stewart?
Well, classically, I don't have Apple TV,
Sure.
so
Sure.
as it's a known thing on.
I
this
give a lot of shit
podcast.
to my friend Chris
I-
Chung's on a. He was our past guest. He's on a drama on Apple TV.
Which one, Severance?
No. Slow Horses.
Okay.
I've
Exactly.
never heard of that.
Yeah. It just got renewed for a second season.
Oh.
It's just like it's.
I saw that clip and I was wondering who was he, and now I feel so. I feel like it was a dig now, and I'm like, oh, he's on Apple TV.
Well, Apple TV, it does have some Apple TV really does have some shows that make it worth
prestige.
but I have no idea how it's doing. Like, I don't know how many people actually have
Want
it.
to know something? You will never know.
You'll never know. And they have enough money that, like, even if it's failing, they'll keep it
Yeah,
going.
but all of them,
All of them.
It's all
all of
IP.
them are failing. Like all of them are in debt. Like Netflix.
Yeah.
Like right, or is that just
No,
a
I
Twitter
think so.
fact
I
that
just-
gets thrown
I think,
out?
No,
like-
I'm
I don't think Apple is because everyone has phones and laptops.
yeah.
You always want to go, okay, so what's making money? What's making the money? And
Yeah.
with Apple, it's the only company, that and Amazon, where you go, okay, I know what's making the money.
Yeah.
I know what's propping this up.
I think that if you knew, like, the view count on some of these, like, high budget TV shows, it would make your jaw drop. Just like they have less views than a sketch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Some of them. Not necessarily. I mean,
Which
that's why
ones?
the
Name
problem
them.
was a huge get for Apple.
Yeah.
It's one of the few, and I feel like the Apple has like a number. They did a good job, but like sometimes Amazon will release a movie and you're like, I've never heard of this. It's
Yeah.
starring mega movie stars who got paid millions, and
Well,
no
that
one will
happens
ever see
all
it.
the time on Netflix now. I'm like, what? This
Sure.
came
But
out
does
with
that
these
make
people?
you, as performers, does that make you go,
Just that because no one's being seen.
Anything can get made at any point.
Sure.
Now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Right?
it was like Quibi. It was like Quibi, where like a lot of people got great opportunities
that
like,
was-
making shit for Quibi, and then it vanished. Then
was
it's like,
so
well, they got
quick.
the money, they got the bag.
Who did you, I know you had an experience. Did you have a Quibi experience?
We were both on the shit. We were together on the game show.
Oh,
we were
holy
partners
shit.
on the game show.
so those still new. Russell and I were on Eye Candy recently, copied for the Netflix show.
Say
Is
it.
this cake?
Is this cake?
So
took that 7-minute episode, made it into 42 minutes.
the funniest part about that is that I got an email that was like, you're on this Quibi thing that was going to be similar to This Week at the Cellar. It was going to be like, oh my God, off the Bleecker Street stop. You remember that place? It's like Squirrel now, I think.
Wait, Caveat?
No. There was going to be there's going to be like a comedy weekly thing that was going to happen at that.
Oh,
my
cool.
God. It's right by Kith, you know. It's right off of the. It's right off of
Oh
like.
wait, is it downstairs?
Yes.
You go. It
yes,
was
yes. It's a performance space.
Yeah. UCB was doing.
UCB did
was
some
renting
stuff
it
there.
out for a
Yeah.
while.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you're talking about.
we performed there. What was that place called?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I know what you mean.
But yeah.
We did a show there where we would swap jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened to it, but they were gonna do like weekly comedy there, high definition camera, short setup. It was like your joke could be your set. If you want to throw in a topical one, the topical joke will definitely make it that week if it pops. And I got an email and I was like, yes, another credit. And then like, because of the COVID and everything.
Yeah.
But it was so funny to see. I was just like, oh, this is going to be really
You never
cool.
shot it.
Never, no.
Fuck.
And it, like the producer was super excited. I knew the producer. It was crazy.
Quibi came and that was at what, a year? Like of
Less.
time,
Less.
than a year.
Oh,
Like
it was
It
insane.
exploded, and then it was just like, oh, it's done.
And one of the few times Twitter was right. They were like, this ain't going.
Yeah.
Whatever this is, it ain't going to last.
Yeah.
And all the articles came out. They were like, we don't know if this is going to last. And Twitter was like, we told you it's not going to last. And then it didn't last. And then
It's
it
simply,
sold
I
to
just wish
Roku.
someone could have walked in, a 20-year-old, and said, oh, when I watch TV shows, I like to be on my phone at the same time. And they would go, oh, fuck. That's all it would take. That's all it would take for them to realize. So now that you're a TV writer, do you miss being a stand-up comedian?
Yes. I've never done stand-up ever since I got the job. I quit.
Because I told you, I told Jay, so Jay got this writing job, and
Gianmarco's one of the first people I told.
yes, I was very flattered. But I told him the story of Anthony Jeselnik, where he got, when The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon first started, that Jeselnik was on the writing team for it, and he asked Dave Attell and Colin Quinn, how do I not become a bad comedian? Like all the
two
other...
very sweet, uplifting, positive men.
Yeah.
How do I... He said, I've seen so many comics turn TV writers and their stand-up starts sucking. What do I do? And they said, it's simple. Don't be good at your job. and I told that story to Jay, knowing that Jay cannot not be good at his job.
Yes, but I think the key really is the approach with this show specifically is a deep dive on a very, very specific topic with a monologue and a panel and interviews and some interstitials. So I don't have to worry about such a wide area of expertise. I just have to be very specific and funny with the argument that we're making pertaining to this topic. And that has helped me because like all my stand-up is still very me. My stand-up is like, I want to say like 50% autobiographical, 50% observational, but even that observation is through like my autobiographical lens. So like I never am worried about being burned out at that. Because like I don't have any jokes about burn pits, right?
Sure,
you know
sure.
what I mean? I don't have any jokes about the stock market, about minimum wage. You know, I do have jokes about Mississippi, but we haven't done that episode yet.
Yeah.
I'll worry about that when it happens.
Is it hard to write for a show that? I mean, I remember I watched the first episode of Full just so I was like, oh, this is really serious.
Yeah.
This is not like a John Oliver like lot of jokes. It's like very selective of when you're going to be funny and when you're going to be serious.
Well, because it's like you want to get the argument right, only because so many people will tell you when you get the argument wrong. For these kind of shows, if everything is facetious and funny, people will be like, well, you just want to make jokes about this. This is serious.
Yeah.
Especially when people have cancer, you kind of have to be like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? What sucks is that for that episode, so many people out of the gate, because it was our first one, were like, oh, this show isn't funny. And I don't want to say publications, but publications were like, it's not funny. And there is a question of, oh, this wasn't. The second episode, which came out at the same time, was very funny. So we just wanted a lot of people to, I guess, understand that funny is a spectrum, and also like just handle things with the amount of, I guess, weight they should have.
Yeah.
And then when you want to do some silly stuff, do some silly stuff. But that was new as a writer to be like, whoa, okay, people really just want the yucks. Because when I'm on stage as a stand-up, I'm like, okay, here you go.
Are you more the comedy person in the room, or like, are there more people who are like, they're the facts people?
Oh, well,
they have a PhD.
You have like a whole research team. So everyone on the comedy side is has either been a comedy writer on multiple shows, or has been a stand-up, or has been like a writer and an improviser and a character like performer, and like written for like sketch stuff. Like everyone contributes that way. The research people, because we're gonna get shit wrong all the time. Research comes to us all the time and is like, all right, so what I know what you want to say, but we can't say it that way. And you're like, okay, so like make it, what's the specific that you're gonna allow us to say? Because research helps us stay on track, and then legal helps us from getting sued. So like those two people, those two kind of branches I actually love, because they kind of make it so that our comedy is even more skillful.
Have you been sued yet? Like the show been sued?
No, but they warned us about, we had an episode about the stock market, and one of the main people that we make fun of, his company is very litigious. Like they warned us, even when tweeting about the episode or like quote tweeting, we can't mention him by name because they will try to sue writers of the show.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that was still exciting though. If you got sued,
that was that was like the first time that like our head writer was like, "Listen, okay, so this is actually, we've been having a lot of fun, but y'all, they will try to sue," and we were like, "The show," and they're like, "No, you, they will try to sue you." So that's like, I mean, I've had like the moment, because we did a white people episode where people are like, that's kind of racist. Like people got very mad, and then people also, their brains just don't remember anything. No. So they went from being like, John's got an all women's writing staff, because for the behind the scenes for the domestic violence episode, John talked to like the women on staff, including like the executive producer / showrunner, the head writer, a senior writer at the time, another writer, and I want to say like an episodes producer. And those were all women who work on the show. But the comments for that video were like, nothing but women writers. I'm so sick. I hate John. And then when we did the episode about white people, which is about race, we had like 4 black people in the room. And they're like, oh, John hired all these black people. His staff is like 80% black. They just don't. I'll be like, you saw the other video. You know that's not you think he fired those people and brought us in?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Well, I watch the clips more than I do watch the full episodes, which is just the reality.
YouTube helps, and we understand that. I think in aggregate, people are like, "We'll put it on YouTube," and everyone's like, "We will." Like, you know, we're going to.
I want to talk about your wedding.
Ooh, wow.
What's the date again?
Are you trying to get me in trouble? Because it's July 10th
Yeah.
at the Foundry. I shouldn't say that, though, because now people know. But yeah, July 10th in
Can you imagine if like it was a huge downside fan base that showed up to Jay's wedding? And they're doing their vows, and they're like, "Dude, this has got to stop."
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the third, in your relationship.
Yes, we
and
did.
he's still the third.
He's still my boyfriend. He's still a big part of my life. Yeah, but like
you,
yeah,
it's you.
Yeah,
and can I say Garrison?
You can say Garrison.
Garrison,
yeah.
does he have a boyfriend or no?
Yeah, him and Brian are still very, very close. I don't know what they call each other because like you kind of can't be like y'all should call each other this when like the relationship now is like a fiance, and like a good friend who was like part of like our throuple situation.
So if you two are at the top of the cake, is Brian like at like a lower level of the cake? Where is he's gonna be at the wedding, right?
Yes.
I, as an envious human being,
yes,
or should I say, as a human being,
but I
can't imagine like watching like my boyfriend or girlfriend getting married to someone else, and just being like, cool. Is he gonna be? Is that night for the two of you? Are you gonna have a dance where you all hold hands and make a circle?
Well,
I
legally,
think
he's
it's
not
explain the math to me.
Yeah, I think it's for the two of us. The wedding is for the two of us.
Sure.
Like that's.
Does Brian have another boyfriend?
He might at this point. I don't know.
You don't know. How often do you talk to him?
I talked to him today.
Well, he's not marrying Brian.
Yeah, but
he's
your boyfriend. Aren't you curious who your boyfriends or the boyfriends are?
Do you think I would have the audacity to say, you better not be dating anyone?
No, but it's more just like, so marriage, the concept of marriage is still, we cling on to this idea till death do you part.
Yes.
We've evolved to a certain degree, and it's like, till the kids out of the house do we depart.
Yeah.
But when you get married to Garrison, to you, is it like, does that resonate till death do us part? This is my life partner?
Yeah, Garrison is my life partner. We've built a life together. We've been together for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where like Garrison's been there for a very long time. So the marriage is a number of things would be easier if we were married. That's a big part of it.
Of course.
Also, people have been asking. We've been engaged for 6 years. There are like a number of factors that were like, oh, we should get married.
Now, if so you get married.
Yes.
And then, Brian, you continue to get close. He's still your boyfriend. After 20 years of him as a boyfriend, what if he said, I'd love to be married too, even if not legally?
Well, then you do that. There are people that think that get like unofficially throuple married, or they just have like a person who is like part of the relationship forever.
Yeah.
And legally, you can't maybe take that extra step. But like in social circles and like, I guess just privately, I know a couple that's married that has like a boyfriend, and they like, everything is like on the table, and I think it works for them. But also, if someone, this sounds cold, if someone experiences this and then says, oh, I want to have what you have, I want to break off from this, you don't get to tell that person no.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Well, Russell, you've told me about wanting to open up your marriage. And I guess it's just
Okay. Okay.
The first time Gianmarco asked me about it, though, it was like a very, I remember about your marriage, Russell. The first time Gianmarco told me, because you were describing the fact that like, commitment is like this weird dance that you think people have to do or people pretend to do, but can't you can be committed to multiple people at multiple levels.
Listen,
I also think that once you've set up this, if you've been with Garrison for 10 years, you've been with your boyfriend for a while, I feel like it would be strange that it would be become a problem. When
It's more this. It's like a house of cards. It's like a house of cards. 2 cards. There's a lot. It's delicate.
No,
you
but
hope it
3
stays out,
cards.
and then you add a third one like this. You're just more likely for
you add
something
it
to
the other
collapse.
side
Yeah.
to help support it.
Yeah, I think you added the third one on the bottom to actually make it.
It's not that, and this is in no way is it me like, this is weird. It's more like it's like
Gianmarco's
relationships
just
are
gotta stop.
so challenging. And in a way, like most heterosexuals, like there's just this template laid out for us. And which also is, I mean, the percentage of people who have cheated and then, or who,
What do you think?
tortured.
What do you think it is?
What?
The number of people who cheat, and it would be alleviated if they were able to say, "Oh, I want to go hook up with this person. Can I hook up with this person?"
Sure. Listen, I don't fully disagree, and I'm hedging my words because I have a girlfriend, and like the idea of my girlfriend being like, "Oh yeah, I'm cool with like loosening it up a little bit." To me, I'm like, not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, and I don't want to make some grand statement about men or women. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen with like a lot of them. There's going to be a couple.
I think,
and there's a lot of men who want monogamy too. I'm not saying every man's like, I'd love to do this. But I'm saying in general, I just don't see it ever.
Generationally, I think it's like it's rising incrementally. I think. I don't have the numbers. I think even among straight couples, ethical... you don't want to say ethical non-monogamy, but a discussion on what their specific rules are. If everyone's having threesomes, then someone's doing this.
But the reason,
right?
in defense of monogamy, and thinking about
I'm going to get you in trouble. So, what's a threesome then?
What's a threesome?
Is that just like a one-time visit?
Well,
when
it
you're having
depends.
threesomes, what's?
I just call it Friday night. No, it can be all sorts of different things.
Can't take an airplane, but can definitely.
It can be all sorts of. It depends. It depends on the people. But listen, I think there's a world where I can visualize. It's like I can see it as food. If I were to be like full on like, baby, you're saying like, can you be the only one who cooks food for me too? Like it's just a thing. It's just a whatever. It's an activity.
You adopt that voice.
But I don't think that analogy helps at all.
But I feel like in defense of monogamy, in defense of like if you're having like a child with someone, and children is where I'm like, all right, here's a new element.
But that's because you want the child to be yours because you only want to give your stuff to someone that you feel is from your bloodline. That's where that comes from.
But let's go for it. There's a certain degree of when you have sex, chemicals are released, you feel intense, you feel things. Mm-hmm. And there's a degree of like if a man doesn't sleep with other women, and I'm just talking about men because it's the only one I can speak to. Where if a man doesn't sleep with other women, then that temptation might not be as throbbing to like be with this other woman or leave the family.
Okay,
men have left the family for some good pussy.
Yes,
but
probably bad pussy too.
Probably bad pussy too. Just any pussy. So there's a thought of like, you know what? Rein this in because it increases the chances of you abandoning your family. Now, you can then look at the evidence and go, well, look at all these men that are fucking ruining the family even worse because they didn't just get, a couple. Maybe I'm sure there's some men out there that could have had sex with 10 other times outside of their marriage and been fine.
Is it just hand jobs could help with this? What would alleviate? Because
I don't think hand jobs. I don't think for my girlfriend or for plenty of people's girlfriends, it's like it's about the intimacy or the fear of like then you're gonna go there for it, and that's the end.
My only question is that if male sexuality in America is this like river that needs tributaries or else it destroys everything in its path, then shouldn't you like at least create a system so that there are like levees and
I don't
dams
disagree, but the problem is I just don't think I agree with, and I feel like with gay men that there's a degree of like an understanding of like how sex could be very like a massage
sex is very this.
Yes, I agree.
It's very Hey, what's up?
But do you think?
But then
Do you
there's,
think
like,
that that's
hard-
do you think to Jay's point? Do you think it's generational? Do you think like younger people will be less likely?
I think younger people have an ego where they think they're free of certain traditions, and as they get older, the traditions start seizing them.
What's interesting is that I've seen it also flip-flop in that younger queer people are becoming more puritanical and that younger straight people are becoming more sexually liberated and freer. That's been very interesting to see.
I had a gay friend, a gay guy who was very frustrated by the inability to find a monogamous partner.
Yeah. And then I also want to tell him, well, then if you're that mad, then you can lie. You can just be straight and lie.
Well, okay, because I feel like I'm defending monogamy, and I'm like, okay, well, you're the one who's fucking married. You're monogamous, and
the wing.
what have you? Do you? Why?
Yeah, I don't. That's interesting. Well, that's what we agreed upon and want. I think I feel funny about the thing. I don't feel the need to defend monogamy, but I also feel the most comfortable, and that's what I want to be doing. But I don't feel like I need to defend it either.
You don't think there's ever in your life you go, let me go.
But Gianmarco,
you're in Vegas. You go, let me go.
It's not. That's the thing. It's not Russell being like, man, I'm gonna go like on a rager with like a bunch of crazy antics. Cause like, how old are we collectively? Cause that also happens too, where you're like, I'm not trying to do all that. I'm just trying to like have fun.
33. You're 42, so it's not getting up anymore.
36.
You're 36.
People will be, you know what I'm saying? That's the other thing that we're talking about, like a friend who's also part of your life as a lover, but also as like a person you go to nice restaurants with. This is not a random 20-year-old.
I agree.
Like, there is something very stressful about even just talking to friends that are like actively dating. Like, it is exhausting to me to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Like, in a way of like, so I'm like, I got this thing I really like. I'm gonna keep I'll keep my thing real small.
And you get to put a lot of amazing energy into that.
Yeah.
But here's what happens, Gianmarco. Okay. What if this is okay? I'm gonna do this. What if there's a couple that's also very close with you and Tova, and y'all go on a bunch of like double dates together, and you enjoy it. And then, like, I don't know,
look at his eyes.
Everyone gets stoned, and people, and people like kind of dance and hug and kiss, and it's not sex, but it's intimate, and it was a night with another couple. What's that?
Yeah, what's that?
What's that?
It's not enough.
I'm just saying the rules, like, because then you'll see older couples, and you'll be like, oh, they're like, maybe they're not swingers, but they're like swinger adjacent. They definitely like get drunk and dance with other couples. And for some old people, that's just as crazy as sex. It's slow dancing with someone else's husband.
What do you mean that's as crazy as penetrating someone with your genitals?
I'm telling you that like intimacy for some people just means like sex, but it also means like hugging and date nights and caressing. So it's like a weird, it's a little bit of a, I think it's a spectrum that you can enjoy.
Sure. I just think, all right, this is it's very hard to talk about gender things without making a grand statement. And this is what I'll say. This is I'm trying to work on a
That's my
bit.
favorite joke of yours recently.
The one where
they really do.
I mean, it's like that's an old hacky joke, but then you have a girlfriend, and sometimes you're like, they really do be. They really do be. I think there's so much about like gender comedy where it's like I don't know, where there's stuff there. I've dated enough women to have like a certain degree of like, well, this pattern has emerged. Can I talk about the pattern that I've lived through?
Yes, you can talk about the pattern that you lived through, but your sample size is so small that you do have to be like, okay, now this is what I've observed, and maybe I'm wrong, but then I need some help.
It was so funny. John Mulaney, he ended up apologizing for the joke later, where he said there could never be an all-women's Ocean 11 because two of the women would break off to talk shit about the other 9. And it was a great joke and so funny on multiple levels. Number one, first, it's true. Second, they did come up with an all-women's Ocean 11, and it was Ocean's 8. So he was correct. The number was not 11. And he had to apologize for it, even though his opinion did not change about it.
That's what they took him to task for.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Apologizing also for that joke is you get to say, if anything happened in the past, that's the best part of the jokes. You get to say, I won't do it again.
Yeah.
You don't have to say, I'm sorry right after you did it, but then people can go, I didn't like this joke. You go, I won't do that
You
again.
hear sometimes, Birbiglia had a joke something about basically, it was essentially a saying every woman is crazy. And it truly, that was the joke. It was like, I'm not saying all women are crazy, just every single woman I've ever met. Like something like that.
I did not laugh at that. I just think Birbiglia, he has a bunch of female openers. He has a bunch of women
and
that
that's
open for
what
him
makes
now.
it all better. But I don't think heterosexual cis couples will ever even come close, even come within 50% of the kind of openish
No,
relationships
I
you're
agree.
talking about. And the sexist statement is that
I
if
agree
we were
with
to
that.
weigh which gender influenced that from ever not happening, it would be more.
Would you say the people who have to deal with that shit for fucking 9 months / 18 years?
Yeah.
That's why? If I have to be like, that's why? Yeah, they don't want you running around because they got to deal with something while you running around.
But I do think there's such an argument to be made that there's so many men out there who I think could be great family people,
Yes.
husbands, partners, and women too. But I'm thinking about all the men I know in my life who've cheated, including
Yes.
my father.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Which
I
is
think
what
there are.
I'm glad we finally got to.
It's all about my
That's
dad.
yeah.
I do have to believe.
By the way, very handsome man. Every now and then, Gianmarco posts an old pic, and I'm like, God, this is a fox. I see how. Your mom's very hot too.
Your mom too.
Everyone's hot.
okay, but and I don't think this is.
Oh, that mom pic?
Yeah,
Do
that
people
mom-
bother you
oh,
about
yeah,
the
yeah,
mom
yeah.
pic still?
Yeah. I went to one place where they thought she was my girlfriend.
Wait, still?
They thought my mom.
Oh, currently.
Still. I'm going to tell my mom you said that.
I was talking
Still?
about the old picture.
That old type?
Oh no.
But so Tova and I were looking at old pictures of my mom's, and we found pictures of my dad's wedding, and she said something along the lines of how good my mom looked and how could he throw it all away, some kind of comment of how could he?
Your mom said that.
No, Tova.
Oh, Tova.
Something just how could he destroy this life? And part of me was well, because he was horny and he just wanted to fuck something he saw. And it's just he didn't necessarily want to destroy it. He just had a sexual urge that maybe in a different world,
Yeah.
he could have done those things and continued. He's not a good example because he's crazy. But I'm sure there are people out there who could have been amazing units and could have slept with people and still been completely dedicated to their partner. And witnessing you get
there
married with another dude that's your boyfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, someone in the 1900s, they would have jumped off a cliff. They'd be so confused.
Yeah.
And
It's interracial. At that point, you're right. In the 1900s,
Yeah.
which is also what
that
the
would
young
be
kids
they would be
call,
which am I more upset about? Gay, a third person, or interracial? I have no idea what to do.
That would be you know those old plays where they send a woman to the loony bin because she just experienced too much.
Yeah.
That's what would happen to them.
Your marriage is like when they said, if we let men marry each other, what'll be next? You're the thing they would use it as example.
I have a joke where I say I'm getting gay married and everyone else is too if the Democrats win. And that to me it's also very fun to play with some rules. I don't call my mom and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna have our boyfriend at the wedding. But people who know, about Brian, other people can ask about Brian. It's a very interesting concept for me because they know how serious Garrison and I are.
Do you think at the wedding, if Brian comes up to you and says, it was so beautiful and gives you a kiss, Would you give him a kiss at the wedding?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna. There are gonna be ex hookups at the wedding. I'm gonna kiss so many boys on the mouth at the wedding. You're coming. There's so many people I'm gonna kiss on the mouth at my wedding.
One side, all the guys Garrison has fucked. One side, all the guys, and then like in the middle, which is probably more than either side that you've both fucked at the same time.
So you got the invite. Good.
No, it's in my calendar. I'm very excited for it. I more look at it and I'm just like, part of it's like, oh, this is incredible. It's because it seems like you're maintaining a full relationship while also like being able to do the things you want to do. It just feels freer, but it seems hard to imagine.
But there's also like the element of, and this gets into like very, very specific dynamics. Like Brian moved to California and lives in LA now with a car and an apartment in Los Angeles. So there's also a part of me that's like, he's going to have an amazing life out there. If that includes dating someone currently or dating someone after we get married, am I supposed to be like, no, come back to No.
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So there's also a freedom on his end that isn't necessarily...
The level of emotional maturity, I feel like it requires, because you have to communicate constantly.
Yeah.
If he felt like, you know what, if he started feeling like, you know, this wedding makes me feel like not special anymore, and I want to, like, it requires so much.
But you have to say that. You have to be able to say, I'm feeling less than important currently. But that's a dialogue that I think people have usually with their primary partner, I would hope. But also you just have to know how you feel about things and say, I don't really like this, or I'm okay with this, or I'm jealous about this, but I also understand. Because jealousy will happen regardless. Jealousy happens professionally. Jealousy happens like personally. Jealousy happens like kind of indiscriminately throughout the day.
If Garrison slept with Gerard Carmichael, how upset would you be?
It would make me laugh almost as much as the special. Now that I shouldn't have said it, but I did. I would laugh. It would be very funny. It's also like whenever you talk about like who sleeps with comedians, once you sleep with more than one comic and you're not a comic, I look at you weird. You know what I'm saying?
George Carlin had the classic. He said, people who fuck comedians, it's like going to a circus and wanting to fuck the monkey. And he's like, these are weird people that like go to see the person that makes them laugh and goes to them for sex. I think that's like the thing.
And it's the going to multiple people. If you're a comic and you're like fucking other comics and it like starts to rack up, I'll be like, oh, that's just who you're around.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're a non-comedian and you've fucked more than two comedians, that's like, even me, like a person who's like woke enough and like sexually liberated enough and like forward and progressive thinking enough to be like, oh, do whatever you want to do. Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful, ethically non-monogamous relationship. If I see someone who's like a for real chuckle fucker, I'm like, that's kind of gross.
Yeah.
That's, you know what, that's nasty.
You know that? Have you ever heard the term the chuckle fucker?
I have, yeah.
It is weird. It feels like a very like a 70s term.
But have
chuckle
you,
fucker.
This is gonna sound crazy. The only thing that would ever make me jealous of Garrison, of like the man I'm going to marry, is if he was like, oh, that person's comedy is so much better than yours, I would rather watch them do comedy.
Mm-hmm.
What a shitty thing to say.
That'd be so mean.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it had to be that specific
Or you
to
just, like,
that
see
degree.
him enjoying someone's
No,
comedy.
because like
at
I
a
want
level
him
of-
to I want him to enjoy other people's stand up because he knows all my shit, and because like there's a level of the way that I do stand up that once you've seen me do it 3 or 4 times, you kind of go, oh, okay, it's just gonna be a bunch of jokes really fast. I know what's happening. When there's some people that are gonna blow you away because they're gonna get naked on stage, and the crowd's gonna be like, you're not allowed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that there are gonna be different people that elicit different laughs from him. There's a picture of him laughing at someone one time, and I was like, oh, you were laughing at like that specific person on the lineup, and he's like, oh yeah, I love them, and I'm like, they're very funny, they're so different than me, so I'm glad you got to experience that.
Which joke of mine was it?
Gianmarco, you're on the list, but in the I like Gianmarco's stuff, and We like Gianmarco stuff. That's what actually would make it this super messy if we went through like me and Garrison's comedy talks on this fucking podcast.
Oh my God.
Well, because he knows rules now, and so he can have opinions. And like sometimes I'm like, well, you're right, but you can't say this. You can't tell other people what you just said. Like that's between you and
Just
me.
harsh about like their whole persona or their whole act.
He'll see it and then he'll go, well, why didn't they write a joke right there? And you'll be like,
I tell you the game Tova and I play where if
you
we
can
watch a
guess the
special, if she
punchline?
can guess 3 of the punchlines, we have to turn it off.
Oh.
And yeah,
you've
sometimes
turned off a few?
we've turned off a few. Yeah. Well, I think if we go back to the Patreon, a cool Patreon would be you and your wife open up your marriage for a month.
No.
And then we have you both on.
That's very stressful.
That would be a very exciting.
There are
multiple
apps for it.
reasons.
You gotta. Here's the app that all the couples use now is Field.
How you spell that?
FEELD. Field. Look it up right now.
Here's the thing: is that the thing is like
Look it up
just
right
this
now.
episode,
Put it
just
on
the
your
just the
phone.
talking of this episode. Tova and I will
fight.
have a conversation about this episode.
Oh, we won't. Nicole does not listen, so.
But guess what? I'm
gonna splice it like you have an open marriage with Nicole, and you saying yeah.
Yeah.
Gianmarco, but sometimes on Twitter, people be like, Jay has a boyfriend? I didn't know. And I'll be like, yes, you did. I talk about, that's such, like, online personas are, like, perpetually single unless, like, there's a girlfriend or a boyfriend in every pic. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, you have to constantly be bombarding them with, like, this is us doing something for people to be like, oh, I see this as a joint account.
Yeah.
I feel like even homophobic men are probably like see it and go like, oh, that's amazing. You can fuck whoever you want. Like I'm sure like there is like a degree of like, God damn it.
But there's like also a degree of them being like, well, that's but that's why it's a sin. And you're like, wait, what? That's when you start to like play with Christianity. When like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing all that. You need to have a harem of women that understand and respect your godliness.
Yes.
You're quoting someone very specific.
I am, that you showed me. There's like this weird rule with like older black men. They're like, oh man, you gotta be gay to make it in Hollywood. I'm like, I don't think you have to. I think that there are gay people in the arts, and the arts are in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone became an amazing seamstress and then was like, you know what? I think I'm gay. That's, like I don't think the hair and makeup guy did gay stuff to get the hair and makeup gig.
Yeah.
This comedian you were referencing, I remember once he went on. He's a very funny comedian, but like, has these old school views, and it's I think about it a lot sometimes. I think we might have talked about it last time where it's like there's a lot of comedy spaces where they want to diversify. Yeah. And I think about like some of the older black comedians who are phenomenal artists.
Yes.
But would say some shit that in those spaces, the way that they've cultivated the rule system was not with these people in the room.
Oh, no.
And they would come in there and they would say, this guy told me a joke.
That shit, and we can talk about it. There'd be times at oh my God. What's right? The train passes by whenever you do it.
Oh, you're talking about Tiny Cupboard.
Tiny cupboard where you'd see a lineup and you'd be like, oh, well, that person's gonna piss the folks off because they know it was a comedy show at night, but they forget it was like deep in Bushwick, and you'd be like, ooh, I don't know if the septum piercings and blue hair are gonna love this. I'm waiting for the joke where they say faggot. Okay, that's it.
And it wasn't a joke. It was just two guys sitting in the front row next to each other. You two?
Yeah, you two gay?
Oh no.
This guy told me a joke. This is really vile, but this is a joke someone else said about like something about like, do you know how gay babies are made? It was something about like when you're having sex with your pregnant wife, it goes in the baby's butt.
It goes in the girl's butt.
No, it goes in the baby inside.
Yeah,
and that's how it becomes gay.
When it leaks out. So
you shouldn't have sex with like your pregnant wife because you're gonna fuck the baby and then the baby will be gay. Some like a vile joke about like
an
that's
incest,
how it's like that's how gay babies are made.
Yeah,
and there's just I'm like I like think about like UCB wanting to be more diverse. And then this comic coming and telling that joke and them not being able to fucking reconcile at fucking all what to do with that. And I feel like that part of the comedy conversation is never spoken about at all?
Well, it's because people don't know how to talk about sexuality in regards to like generational differences. One time,
And how to degree like, well, what do we allow in these spaces?
Yeah.
This is where this is where the concept of safe spaces, I'm like, well, it can become, and it's always complicated to talk about because
Yes.
I'm desperately trying to not be like all older black men joke about this, but I'm like, some of them do.
there was one time where we had a conversation and we like talked about a specific joke that someone does, and I was like, well, he's allowed to be racist against Asian people because he's an old black man and he's been doing that same set since '05. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You'll be like, that's racist. I'm gonna leave because I don't want to have to be the person who's like, good set, but like, you can say, oh man, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
That's all you can say to them because they're gonna be like, great, right? And you'll be like, okay.
I mean, when you retired your Asian accent bit, that was my favorite.
Oh, you get like one of those a thing, and now you're just.
I love it. It's my favorite thing to do. Well, this was lovely. Let's get to our next segment. This has got to stop.
This has gotta stop.
This has got to stop. Do you have one for us?
Oh yes, this is gonna be controversial.
Oh.
All right, this has got to stop. People doing the lowest commitment, the lowest engagement level, the lowest level of work when it comes to lip syncing. It was an art form. It was an art form that like a lot of drag queens use. And this is specifically non-musical lip syncs. This is what happened. A lot of queens in New York City, in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Milwaukee, in Atlanta, they'll have non-musical elements to their mixes. Something from a popular TV show, probably like a Housewives quote. Then people saw Bowen do it online a lot, and they were like, oh, I can make some money doing this. And then they started doing it. And then a few people got popular, and now everyone has to lip sync to everything. I don't think everyone needs to lip sync to everything. I'm sorry. It's like the laziest thing you can do now.
Yeah.
I feel like an asshole when I say it.
No, listen.
And people say, oh, Jay, you're gatekeeping. But it is the lowest form of you being creative. It's so hard to watch online now.
I did see a comedy show recently where this was used, and there was this weird thing where when it's not that good,
yes,
it really highlights that we're just laughing at the bit from the
Show
movie.
the clip.
The bit from the movie. We're just
You just
laughing
pull
at
up the movie.
we're
Let's
just
watch
like,
the
we'll
movie.
Just watch that. That's the funny thing that you didn't when you're not doing a good technical job. And you didn't create the content.
Yes.
It is a little like, what's this
And
for?
you haven't
you're just in front of us.
And like the thing that also pisses me off is you have added no extra layer to it.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like maybe you added an extra layer to it. Maybe it's in a different setting and you're applying this particular set of sounds and reactions to this other setting. And I can see from the caption that that's what this is, and from the costume and from the setting. Great, cool. But if it's just like you in your apartment doing a thing to a thing that already exists, that's already funny, what the fuck am I supposed to take away from that? What? That you have a phone? I'm asking. And I know it's going to piss some people off.
Well, are a lot of people doing it still? I mean, Sarah Cooper blew up doing it. I know you're not saying Sarah Cooper.
It's not even
and
that.
Sarah Cooper did a good job. Bowen Yang did a good job.
I'm talking about the lowest form of that. I'm talking about the fact that like when you're on Facebook Reels and like when you're on IG Reels, when you're on TikTok, people just not trying to do anything but lip syncing.
Yeah.
There's nothing added to it.
Yeah.
They're just saying a thing that already exists.
Have you ever done a lip sync?
No.
I tried my Sarah Cooper parody. Remember I did, it was like a Nixon interview. I was like, I'll be the next Sarah Cooper. I'll do it with like Richard Nixon. And first of all, it took forever to get the shot right.
Yeah.
And then it bombed.
No, and the other thing is that like the impressive part about Bowen was that like he was doing it like while it was playing and the words were coming out. And there were some other people who like hold up a laptop and do the same thing, and like I guess I'm supposed to be slightly as impressed if it's like a popular thing. I just don't. It will never blow my mind.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm an asshole. I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican. I'm fucking QAnon. I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. But this is dangerous to our children. Look at me. I think that it's gonna create a bunch of people who think that this is a skill set or is funny.
You know what's funny though?
I saw someone play a fucking clip from Arthur at a comedy show. They just played a clip from a TV show at a comedy show. What the fuck am I supposed to do with that? I'm serious.
Yeah, no.
You know what's funny though?
Gianmarco,
is
why
because
aren't you as mad as me?
Yeah.
Well, I think because I don't do these Brooklyn comedy shows where people are lip syncing.
Oh my god. But what the fuck is this?
But it's also funny because I feel like in the evolution of getting older, this is connected to a branch to participation trophies because in a way you're saying like you're not actually doing anything, you're not making anything, you don't deserve any clout or respect for this. Anyone can do it. You didn't even make the art, you're just participating.
No, I can.
But no one. But people gave those kids participation trophies. People gave those. Are you saying I'm giving them views?
No, you're right in terms of like, I think doing it online for whatever, it's about people like responding to it. Doing it at a show is insane. And we have a system with some of these new shows where like, part of you is like, bring back booing. We need to bring back someone going, boo.
Or
what
just
is this?
someone going, what was that? Well, like, seriously, what do you want? I would so much rather someone
bring
like,
back booing.
I would rather someone roll around on the ground in peanut butter and jelly and make a sandwich, and I would understand that there was a level of effort and commitment to a physicality and to a physical bit that is like part of a legacy of clowning and actual theater than someone just repeating not even words, just like mouth placement of a thing that's already popular and funny. That's the thing. If you don't elevate it, what? I can watch Nene Leaks because I have Bravo. I'm serious. Show the Nene clip.
I agree. I think you touched on something interesting. I think it is hard. There are times where you're like, I know this is bad. I know this sucks, but to talk about it feels like an old we're constantly having that thing more and more every year where I'm like, I know this one thing is terrible, it's stupid, it's a dumb thing that blah blah blah, and there's no value to it. But when you complain about it, it sounds like you're.
And then people
I get on TikTok and I'm like, everything on there.
But it will get there. It will get there.
People just.
I think it will get there once people's moms and dads start doing lip syncing too.
But that's what
They're
I'm
already
saying.
doing it.
That's the shit that I'm telling you is pissing me off because it's that. It's just you folding towels.
Yeah.
Saying you're what?
It's just normal people in their like suburban houses in their dumb.
This is why I say back to booing. This is why we've lost cruelty in comedy to a certain degree.
Yes,
we've lost cruelty, and part of the reason we lost cruelty is because it also reinforced a very patriarchal, misogynistic, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. But we can
There was a lot in that blah blah blah.
we can take down the patriarchy while still maintaining the meaniarchy.
Yes.
Meanness.
Yes. Can
like
I say
that
something?
article about Gerard Carmichael's special, which was like, you see, comedy doesn't have to be mean. This is the future. And it was like, meanness is part of human nature. What you want is not human. Meanness is a cleansing. It's a tool. It's how people become self-aware.
I would even argue there's a very famous film about how girls can even be mean. There's a very you can't say anything bad about anything. And energy currently when it comes to things comedically. If something doesn't actually invoke pathos and like create some sort of like emotional like response from you on a dramatic side, people can say I wasn't moved. You can say I wasn't moved and not be a mean person. It's so hard for people now to be like, that's not.
Didn't make me laugh.
Not only did it make me laugh, like why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like who's that for?
Yeah, who's that for?
Who's that for? That's
a good question though.
That's a good question. A lot
that
of
for?
comedy things.
But that's
don't
why
know.
I can understand how people on the road get angry, because I'll go to Chuckles Comedy House and I'm like, I know people who are crushing it here, and I'm like, you would get booed here. Here's where you would be booed. You don't know what the world is.
You know T.I. just got booed.
I know T.I.
At Barclays.
Oh, I saw, yeah.
We
At
didn't talk
Barclays.
about this. He got booed. Could you imagine the Barclays Center booing you?
It'd be
Oh my
wild.
God! Can I tell you another crazy thing? You know, someone else got booed on that show.
I love how you're whispering on the podcast into the mic.
Yeah,
But yes,
can I tell you
who got
someone-
booed?
You know who got booed on that show?
Who?
Yeah, we really. Yeah. Oh no,
Do you actually know?
I do.
Okay,
I don't.
I do.
you do.
That sucks.
They talked about it on the radio.
Oh, they talked about it on the
They
radio.
said his name.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look that up. It was you, Russell.
Yeah.
They played one of your sketches on there, and the whole crowd booed.
Boo.
No, it was a person whose energy can be a very funny contrast to that type of show sometimes, and they're used as a contrast to fun, emotional black joy because they have the 100% opposite energy.
Okay.
And
Finding on your website, a contrast to black joy.
it is when you hear black joy is like, oh, that's black joy, and they come in very much like this. And so that person got booed. That's what they said on the radio this morning.
Someone had the line. They say black people, when they laugh, they change locations.
Oh yeah,
Which is
they
one of the-
move.
which one of the-
Black
the
people
best.
cannot stay still and like be happy. It's usually because their dog's after us. But it's like, right? If I will say this is how I'll argument. Historically, if we were laughing, it's because we just escaped something.
Sure.
that's why we're like, you see that line? That's Canada. That's what happened.
All right, let's move on to our final segment.
Better count your blessings.
Russell, you got a blessing other than your faithful wife?
Yeah. Oh, I had a nice. We had a great show, Uncle Function show.
You did.
It was like one for the record. It was a great show, and this nice thing that doesn't happen. Sometimes you do these shows, and you're like, who's like? I mean, people were there. It was like big crowd.
Yeah.
But you're also like, we've been doing this for a long time. Is this serving?
You're like, what was
Is
the
this-
industry here?
Is
No.
this, but I have a nice little callback based off of people that were there and
Which is incredible.
which is a nice thing.
This was
We like
what
that.
like UCB. There used to be a day where you'd be like, you were motivated partially because you're like, I'm going to do my best here, and people are going to see it, and if it's
Yes.
great, this could result in
Yes,
career
and it's been a
opportunities.
while since something like that happened. So
Yeah.
it was a nice little thing. Yeah,
I hope you get it. If you get it, are you going to still be able to do the pod?
I'm doing it. I'll be able to do everything.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't care about the other things. Just the pod.
I feel that way about a TV show that I auditioned for that blew up, and I'm so happy it blew up and it's going amazing. But I was like, oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's how I'm like, I'm very happy for them.
Oh, good.
My blessing is of course gonna be Tova's family. I got to see a lot. I got to hang out with her brothers too, and her brothers was very chill. And I think Tova's nervous. We both have our own relationships with our family, and they were all lovely. They took great care of me. They paid for the meals. I was very grateful.
It's a big deal, Gianmarco.
Very grateful.
Big deal
They
for
helped me with
Gianmarco.
rides. They came to the shows. Her brother came to both shows.
Butts and seats.
Butts and seats. They laughed. Her dad had like a very sweet, like he came into the room and he was like, I think you have a good chance of making it.
Oh, that's what you want. Discernment.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Okay, she made the IG story post. Did you actually tell the blowjob joke?
I told the blowjob.
Okay, all right.
For those listening, it's my girlfriend was Orthodox. She's been teaching me a lot about Jewish culture, customs. A couple weeks ago, she was giving me a blowjob. I heard her go, and that's Hebrew for wrap it up. And
It's just one of my favorite jokes, but for her to talk about it on the IG, I was like, well, let's see.
Tova definitely like started getting nervous leading up to the show because we went to this temple and the rabbi's like, oh, tell him to come and them to come, and I was like, oh no, what's going on?
No.
And it was funny because Tova's nervous, but like her parents were like, oh, do whatever. Like no one gave a fuck except Tova had that thing.
Yeah, of course.
And I think I avoided like one or two jokes. It was strange, the ones that she happened to care about. But there was that thing where she was like, can you not do this? Can you not do this one? And I started becoming like comedian boy. And I was like, baby, I'm a comedian. I can't control. I get on the mic and like I just spit, you know? Yeah. I just spit. I talk periods, blowjobs. I can't help myself.
Gianmarco, is that scene in like at the beginning of so many specials where it's like, man, you know what? Go up there and just fucking rip that shit. Just go be you, Gianmarco.
And then come off stage and hug my sister.
Andrew Schultz had a crowd work special, and it started out with like a scene behind this where the one guy's like, yo, you gonna do that top of the dome shit you do? And he's like, what do you mean? You know when you just like you riff it up there? And he's like, all right, sure. And it was such a corny. It was just, you do that top of the dome shit. And it was a great special. Andrew Schultz, very good comedian. But it was just
oh my God.
It's very funny where like, and in rap, especially like watching Kanye, the documentary, like there is this, he's at the Improv for some scene and, you know, getting a comedian, he uses a comedian's riff in one of the music videos. And you see, in a way, I'm not close to the rap world at all, but you see how these are the similar worlds in terms of climbing and I think like rappers really do get away with this insane level of like, yo, this is real. This is like my soul. In a way where comedians, you'd be laughed to smithereens. Yeah. But you're both doing the same thing. And like some comedians, there are moments you do want to, you have that like inkling of wanting to be like, I said to Tova, I was sharing like some bits about my dad's heart attack.
Yeah.
And I really, for a second, I got emotional. I was like, no, this is me. This is my art.
Yeah.
And like rap, I think you get away with a lot more of like, yeah, this is my soul.
Music,
this is my
music,
heart.
Probably. Because it's like you don't have to, there's not connected to having to have a laughter next.
But at the end, you're going in a booth and there's half of it's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. What?
Gianmarco, that's the pickup. That's the ad lib pickup. You put the lyrics down first.
Yeah.
I love, but like they'll show Kanye like with Mos Def or like at a party and they start freestyling and like Kanye like gets intense with it and it's cool to watch. But at the same time, if we were like in a group and I was like, and then I broke into like, that's like those old Herbal Essence commercials. You remember those? Where like, and I went into like a whole chunk. It'd be like, shut the fuck up.
I think the freestyle, I think like any cypher is a bit more akin to like riffing on a bit. Like what we did with the marriage callbacks and with like the hug callbacks.
Sure, but he was not freestyling. This is something he wrote.
Oh,
before.
You mean him
There's
just
no
passionate about, oh yeah. But then there is an element of like, oh, we doing this because camera's here. Like, there's like a
sure,
because
and it was good.
You can't keep using Kanye as the like example of the entire rap world. It's a very specific personality.
I like that you're kind of like extending an olive branch to Kanye from the comedy community after he threatened us.
I love freestyle. I love rap. If I become successful soon, I do think like in my 50s a rap album.
You know,
could happen.
I appreciate when people say that facetiously. What I don't like is, and this kind of happens a little bit too much, where like comedians really start thinking they're rappers, and like you're like, why do you have a huge posse as a comedian? You can have security. You can have like a homie. Maybe you can have like a person who writes down the stuff you said when you were doing this drop in. But once it gets past like 3 people, I'm like, you're not a rapper, dog. You stop being funny because what's your joke? Like, you know when your boy, you tell him to go get a salad and he forgets the extra dressing, and it's just like, oh, you're too detached from like real people problems. Like that's the problem with the posse. Yeah, you know when your guy like says these scallops are fresh, you're like, man, I don't know. These scallops Are these base?
You know when your
scallops?
bodyguards are beefing with each other and you're like, guys, you need to be focused on me, number one.
You know when you get your entire crew new cars and someone complains about their car, it's like one of those like, oh, you're funny to different people now. You're not funny to me. You're funny to someone else.
Larry David's one of the few people who I think somehow with money still was able to complain about things that feel relatable.
I think it's the pebble in the shoe theory.
Yeah.
He's constantly irritated, not because money made him more comfortable. Money actually made him more like hyper visible, so you can see his discomfort with everything.
Pebble in a shoe, it bothers you whether you're wearing Crocs.
Yeah. Or like Ferragamo loafers.
I don't know enough about shoes to even I was like, what's a shoe?
Yeah,
what's a nice shoe?
Then I came in, I helped you very quickly.
Do you have a blessing?
Oh yes, I am very, very grateful to be a working stand-up and a writer on a show. So that's something that I have been able to say in the microphones enough, because you don't want to say it when you get up on stage. You want to be like, I'm so glad that this shit could go either way because I got a job waiting for me. But like being a writer, being a staff writer and a comic is something like in New York City where like comics are good and like the writing is fun and good. Like it's a fucking dream. I never thought.
And you're still doing the real comedy. I mean, I'm sure there's some writers and they stand up once a month or whatever. And they really phase out, but I am still
in the trenches, as they say.
Yeah.
People get sick of it. They don't want me to be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. This episode is coming out on April 26th. So, Russell, any plugs?
Yeah. Saturday, May 14th, Uncle Function, Asylum NYC.
Any plugs from you, Jay?
Oh, yes. Come to Union Hall, May 21st. Jay Jurden, Just Jokes, again. It's me doing an hour of stand-up comedy, and that's it. Did you know you could just do an hour of jokes? An hour of repeatable, fun, fast-paced comedy. People don't know this.
Do you sing any Sondheim songs without saying that he's the one who wrote it? All right, so I
there's no Sondheim, there's no PowerPoint, there's no experimental dance, there's nothing. It's just me being funny for an hour, which used to be enough, and I hope it will be again. And this is something that I think is a bit revolutionary. I stand up the whole time.
Damn. I gotta tell you, I do sit sometimes. I do.
Gianmarco doesn't sit. Gianmarco perches.
Yeah.
You queen.
Thank you. Okay, I like that. I perch. I'm headlining Looney Bin in Oklahoma City this weekend. May 1st, we have, as we say every time, the first Sunday of every month, May 1st, the Silver Lining at 8 p.m. at Sesh Comedy Club. Tickets are $5. Link is in the show description. And again, come out to this one. Join the email list, my text list, but come to this show because once this starts selling out, I will convince Russell to do a live podcast before the show.
It's a very good show. I just did it. I like it a lot.
Great.
And we have great comics. It's me. You get to see me do an hour, but interspersed, I have at least two very good comedians. And then after that, I'm at Hyenas Comedy Club in Dallas, May 5th. Rudyard's May 6th and 7th. That's in Houston. And then Helium St. Louis the weekend after that. But again, join the mailing list. Join the text list.
You're not at Uncle Function again?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, sweetheart.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, my God.
Sorry to really came in torpedo.
That is brutal. Join, see Uncle Function if you're in New York.
No.
But if you're in St. Louis, go see me. We're not similar audiences here. Very separate audiences
I thought
here.
you were here this month. Okay, it's okay.
Oh,
it's
sweetheart,
okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Someone just made a decision.
Wow.
How about you, me, Nicole, and Tova go dancing this weekend?
Yeah.
Let our hair down. Have a couple drinks. We can be intimate without penetrating.
That's true.
So again, go to the Silver Lining, join the text list, join the email list. A lot of cool guests coming up. We got Moses Storm coming up. We got a guest.
He's here. He's filming.
We do. They come to New York. We get them. And tell your friends about the downside. That's how you grow. And Jay, one more negative, something sad, something existential, something.
Ooh. Oh, I'll say this. Stop trying to make everything cool. I'm okay with some stuff not being cool. Like, everything has started to be like, oh, this is kind of cool. No, not everything. Not everything is cool. Some stuff is like boring and nerdy. Like I'm a nerd. When I say I like comic books don't have to be cool.
Yeah.
It's nerdy shit. Everyone enjoys nerdy shit now because it's just smashing action figures together. But it's not cool. Like it's not. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I was just looking for one line. This is the downside.
1, 2, 3.